Hey everybody, I'm Dov.
I'm Nicole.
And we're Twin Flame Revolution. We're conscious mentors, energy healers, activators, and we are so excited to be with you guys to do our first Twin Flame Raw, TF Raw episode. Raw, Revolution at Work. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk to you guys about our raw, meaning like our difficult, intimate situations that we have been through, and we're going to show you how we have worked through it even before we even knew we had tools. What does the revolution look like when it's at work? What does it look like for us? Our revolution is a consciousness revolution of love, of awareness, of activation, of remembering who you are, right? So these videos are going to be a little bit different. We are going to talk to you guys about our stories. We are going to talk today about when we first met. We're going to talk about what happened and how we plunged right into the ship, in addition to being in that really state of like love, excitement, joy.
Passion, baby.
And we're very excited to share with you guys. So if you're into this at all and you're happy and you're liking this right now, I've got to tell you, subscribe, like the video, share it with people. Go check out our Facebook. We've got some crazy, awesome stuff going on Facebook. But next Raw that's coming up, we literally could not hold it back. We're like, this has to be like the second one that we do. We have to let you guys know. We're going to talk about our separation. We're going to talk about all of it. We're going to talk about how we managed it. We're going to talk about what it looked like from the divine feminine, what it looked like from the divine masculine, what we were going through. And we're just here to serve you guys through this process and to really allow this revolution to spread. So if you like this, share it, comment, love on it, subscribe if you're not connected. We are so excited. So yes.
Yeah.
Our Raws have started. Oh, disclaimer, which I will also put in the notes, or should be in the notes when you're watching. We are going to use whatever language we want to. We will curse. We may speak fast. We will have stories. So maybe not on your big screen, because some of you guys put us on your big screen and I love it. And your kids are watching it too, and that's awesome. So maybe this is not the video series, right? Maybe the Raws are not the video series depending on the age of your kid, because I really don't want us to hold back, so that we're really sharing with you what the hell we were going through and how it hurt. And so we're going to be really, we are really authentic and raw with you guys always, a little play on words, but we're really going to be there with you guys in this process. We're going to show you scraped knees, you know, dirty, falling in the mud, what does it look like, and how we overcame it, why we are where we are right now, and what the work really looks like in our lives.
Yeah, so I remember, actually, it was really interesting when you were speaking, we were talking about like when we met, I forgot that I had gone to a therapeutic community before I had spoken with you. And so I was in a TC, which is another like kind of rehab, long-term rehab, and it was a year, and it was more like kind of shock therapy and kind of break you down to build you back up, because I had tried all kinds of rehabs for my addiction stuff, and I went to Christian rehab. I tried everything, so I thought at that point. And I remember I came out of that and I ended up moving to New Hampshire with a good friend of mine who is also in recovery. And I was online and I was on MySpace. It was a long time ago. Actually, we
Some
had
of you guys were like, what is that?
yeah, you're like, what is that? The millennials like, It's like Gen Z is like, what the? So like that, like you guys are ancient. Oh my God. Actually, at one point we actually went back to see our pictures. It was a way for you to do that on MySpace. And wow, the pictures from the past, were haunting. But I remember seeing her picture, and I remember where I was like, I know her. Like, I want to know her. I was just like, I thought it was so creepy actually, because I was like looking at her and I was like, I've never had that overwhelming feeling where I was like, I just want to cuddle with you and hold you right now for a really long time, because like, I don't know what the hell is going on right now. And I was just getting clean, you know, I had like a year clean, and I was still in so much pain. Like I stayed away from the drugs, but me as healing my inner self and my core, the work wasn't totally done there. There was so much work to be done that I have done since then. And so sometimes even when we get off of, we put aside the addiction stuff, it doesn't mean that you're going to be at peace and happy. Yeah. And for me, like that just wasn't enough to just stop. Like I was like, I'm not gonna stop if I'm not happy. And I wanted to find happiness, and so I ended up relapsing. And but I friended her, and she accepted my friend request.
You've got mail.
And we started a dialogue for 2 years where we didn't even talk on the phone. And we had this passionate connection. And actually at that time, she was painting things that were wild. I wish we had the picture of it for you, and maybe we can find it, of the twin flame colors. And she had no idea about anything with twin flames.
Yeah.
And she had put like, the bottom of a computer, like just the what is that called? The keyboard itself on the painting with all these flames, the blue and the orange flames. So when we went back and saw it, we were like, holy crap.
That was really wild, like just being able to channel in that stuff. And I think a lot of us are not, we don't, and I'm playing with my hair, guys, because I put on this shirt and it was like so frizzy. So excuse me while I'm doing that. I'll do whatever I need to do as well while I'm talking to you guys. It was like all of this stuff was coming out of me. All of these thoughts, all of these feelings, like as I connected with her, so much stuff started waking up in me. And I was painting all the time, and I would paint all through the night, right? Like, and I had like exams, and I was in college, and I was like, I really needed to focus, and I was like, I couldn't stop painting, and I couldn't stop creating these things and these images. And yeah, maybe we'll find some, and some will be, I'm doing some prints on some that we'll put on our website in the future, so it's really cool. And it was so activating, and I thought we were really going to be able to just be friends, and it was like, but it was like somebody that I didn't even need to talk to her. We messaged most of the time. We shared everything. We shared what we were thinking. We shared what we were going through. We shared our artwork with each other. We're both writers. We were sharing our creative writing. I mean, it was unbelievable. In hindsight, I was kind of young, so I thought it was kind of kosher. But in hindsight, it was blurry. It was more than friendship. But we didn't intend it to be. There was all of this connection, right? The twin flame connection is like all these different things. Yeah. And my 21-year-old brain was like short-circuiting about how to funnel all of that through and what that meant. And so I just kind of was going with the flow of what that was, until we saw each other in person.
And then we hung out, and it was very interesting because none of the religion or spirituality came out really when we were writing each other. And so, but when we met, like, her mom's like really psychic. Like, she's the only psychic I go to, right? Like, she's like psychic, like really on point. Like, sometimes she would walk past me and she didn't want to like see what was going on with me, and she'd be like, oh, and she'd run. She's like, because she would like see it and start speaking to me, and I'm like, because she's like hitting like all this stuff, and then I'm breaking down. And so for me it was a little shocking because I grew up in a very like Christian home, right? So but we both had aspects of each, in us, and that wasn't all that Dov was about. Dov grew up in India, and just really connecting with different masters like Osho, and at a young age, and just having, I don't want to speak for her, but what was interesting was when we first came into contact with each other, it seemed like there was a possibility that this was going to clash. I was like, this is going to not be a good thing. Right. I was like, this is scary. Like, in church, like tarot cards and things like that, it's like, that is the devil, and this is what I was brought up with, and I was a little bit more open-minded. So, and the beauty of that was that what I got to see and what really opened my heart was her mother and her were so much unconditional love, and her father so much unconditional love, that as I saw the work and I saw it happening, I was like, that's love. Like, how can I not honor that? And I know Dov's always told me that my faith in God was something, since I was little, I prayed. Even before I went to church, I used to pray. I just had this connection with God and this idea, and I felt that love even when I was little, and I used to just wouldn't shut up, and I would just connect. And I know that Dov always told me, I love your faith. And so we learned actually so much. We were able to take these two very different templates and kind of make them cohesive, and anything that wasn't aligned with love, we were just like, we just were like, that doesn't, and we pushed those things out, and we met in the middle. And so all of our upbringing and with spirituality and love, we got to kind of make this beautiful art piece. We were talking about art together, which we still have today, and it's really just beautiful.
And the work started to happen like
then,
well, always for us, like that. As Nicole was in her faith, as Nicole was connecting, as I was learning, as I was being activated, as I was open, but then together we realized, even without realizing, just like the paintings, we did without even realizing, like Nicole said, we broke down the templates that weren't working. We merged worlds that needed to be merged, right? And so, we chose also, and our dog's playing in the background, so
she's got a toy, so I'm just gonna let her do it.
We'll have the auto-tune version of Sophia in the background. I'm sure most of you have met Sophia before. And, she's a big fan of being on camera. But, it's kind of incredible how we were already, our higher self was already sort of dictating and helping us figure out how you let that stuff go. And like Nicole said, everything that was not aligned with this unconditional love that was like surging through us just started going. And it was, it's funny because when you grow up a certain way, you also have a point in your life where you create this rebellion or this resistance towards that energy or that experience, right? And at some point, I went the other way. First generation in the United States, first generation to go to college. I went hard into my logic, hard into my mind, into my ability to create a foundation for myself. I wanted to go there. I wanted to show my intellectual possibilities, and I wanted to do those things. And so I put myself through college. I ended up becoming an attorney, and it was always her. It was always Nicole that brought me back to the center of remembering and coming back into a deeper and deeper remembrance of who I was and what love was and how to connect with that energy through her faith, like her deep, deep faith. And I think that our faith merges very deeply at this point. So we worked on those things all at the same time. But we got together. I was insistent we were going to be friends. It took like a week. You guys have heard this story before. We had really intense deep purge. The day that Nicole asked me if I will actually be with her. Without even knowing what was happening to me, I just started to cry. And I cried for every moment that we had lost each other. And I cried for every lifetime. I didn't know that's what I was crying for. I cried for every lifetime that we didn't make it work. I cried for all of the things we had experienced and all of the stuff that we were here going to experience, going to transmute.
Yep.
I knew what we were going to take on. I knew it when I was born. And I knew it in that moment without knowing it, right? I knew it in my subconscious. I knew it in my cells. And I cried for 3.5 hours. And the funny thing is, she didn't even think it was weird, right? Because her soul somehow recognized it too. And she sat with me in my crying for 3.5 hours. And I look at all the synchronicities and the intensity of those times. It was a full moon. There was so much intensity going on. And I knew we were in it, right? And I cried for what was coming. And we had love like the most unexplainable, unbearable love. And we went right into it. And a week after we started dating, we hit the wall of our shit. So hard.
I remember when we first started dating, actually a week later we moved in together. We U-hauled. We're like, we didn't want our friendship we really were scared that our friendship would take a hit and that, if it didn't work out, that we would lose our friendship. And so we went into it really fearful. So we're like, let's just take it slow. Twin flame slow. We moved in together and we've been living together ever since, right?
Lesbian slow.
Yeah, lesbian slow too. We U-haul. I moved in and with her and, shortly after that, for all of you, I know the connection between you and your twin in the beginning is like so primal, like sexual in nature, like nonstop sex, like having to be close, having these awakenings. Sorry, I'm talking about sex, but like, I don't know if you would blush or not.
It's okay. It's just, all the millions.
So it was like really intense. And then the intensity for me scared the hell out of me because it was just that, and the masculine sometimes with the intensity. And a lot of the time is like, and so Dov had said to me, in the beginning, I know that your history with drug addiction, and if you get high, like I'm out. I'm not doing this. I can't sign up for that. And so I don't know if I was being rebellious. I don't know if it was the intensity. I don't know if I wanted to see if she really would leave. I think I was just really fucking scared. And I relapsed hard, like really hard, on strong drugs like crack and heroin, things like that, where my wife was like, and I remember her professing like this deep love for me, knowing that she had signed up for this, and like she sat with me, and I remember this like this first moment of acceptance from her. Now, mind you, we were really young at the time. She was even younger than me. I was rocking the cradle. No, I'm kidding. It's like, what, 7 years?
7 years. We're 7 years apart.
I wasn't really rocking the cradle. But there was this acceptance of just me, and we locked in. And actually shortly after that, she was just like, you need to, and I had a really bad eating disorder that I talk about sometimes, I don't know, but I had bulimia, and there was a lot of things, and my wife was like, listen, you're gonna die if you don't get help. And she was like, I'll do anything to raise the money for you to go to this private rehab. And that's what she did. She went long and hard to get that. She got that money. So whenever you think that you can't make something happen, you can make it happen, especially when my wife is like, your life is on the line. And, I started to do deep work then, and I worked in 30 days, worked through my eating disorder stuff and my drug addiction stuff. And then I had I kept relapsing with the drugs because that was such a deep rooted program. It was deep rooted issues around it. There was many decisions why I chose to use that are so in there, and core abuse, core pain that needed to be gutted out, and is still being gutted, because whenever we think the work is done, it is never done. There's always layers upon layers. Even when we were, and I was bringing up my sex abuse, it went from my sex abuse in this life to my sex abuse in many lifetimes that I've been transmuting for the feminine, right? And also being the masculine and coming back as the feminine and going through this. Not easy to be in your body, not easy to be present, not easy to not want to get outside of yourself and start grabbing onto drugs and different things to fill that, or to make yourself feel okay, or to make yourself feel really high so you don't feel anything. Yeah.
And so we were navigating these things, and it's funny because when we started talking about this particular video, I was like, wow, like we didn't have any tools. We talked with you guys, we're like, wow, we didn't have any tools. It was so hard. We didn't have certain tools. We didn't have the tool of understanding our connection, that we were twins. We didn't understand certain language. We didn't understand certain ways to clear things, to see things. But wow, were we working, right? So when I talk about the revolution at work, like we being this conscious revolution of love, like you being this conscious revolution of love, we were doing it. And our higher self was guiding us through it step by step. Whether Nicole was getting the information from this or from that, and even from each and every relapse, that healing, that message, that when she says there's layers and layers and layers of stuff, it's like an onion, and we're working through it and hitting our knees and hitting the wall and hitting these things, because going into those dark places was activating stuff. And over time, though, we found ourselves deeply rooted in our cycles, and that became really hard, right? These deeply rooted cycles and patternings, this hitting of each other's wounds, this hitting of the pain and breaking down the communication, and not knowing that we were both like, oh, I love you so much, I hurt so bad, I want to be close to you, I don't know what to do with it. Because we didn't really realize, too, that we were so mirroring and present with each other, but in a way where like we were forcing the other person to look at our stuff. And we signed up for so much difficulty, like a lot of you, right? And that difficulty wasn't going to go away. It was demanding resolution. It was demanding to be released. And that hurt, right? And the more we resisted that change in ourselves, the more we broke down together, the more difficulty we had, right? And so we're not going to talk about our separation, because that's what we're going to talk about with you guys next. But really, the work started before the work. And then, in the story of our separation, we're going to talk about how we got to the work that we're doing now as well. But it's amazing, like, how we had to go deep into those things right off the bat. How we had to go right into the addiction. And then I wanted to point fingers. I hid for years behind her addiction. What are you laughing at?
I was laughing because I remember one of our first fights, and she's so logical and she's so smart, and like the way she when we were having the argument, the way she creates she has her pen and pad. Well, on Tuesday, the 11th.
But the pen and pad's in my brain.
But it's in her brain, right? I'm
like
just playing. But she would remember stuff, and it was like, because when you were talking about like the trigger stuff, we're fighting, and she's bringing up all these facts, and she's like, so what you're saying, because I said something, she's like, so what you're saying is that you lied that day, because now you're saying this, and all of a sudden, like, she had me backed into a corner, like, she pulled me up on all my shit, and I'm like, you're mind fucking me! And when I look back now, like, she was probing my mind. Right? She was hitting all these parts of me, and she still does, that are not aligned. All these negative thought forms, she's been able to go right in there, right? So as we are working, we're really able to dissect the shit, dissect the programs, even when it's a fight. We're able to look at things, and instead of taking the trigger and taking the arguments of things and making it a big story that we're so messed up, Dov and I started to look at what was happening and the things that were coming out and the things that we were seeing in one another. And when we finally got to a point of allowing the ego to step aside enough to hear each other, because that was like years of work. I couldn't hear her for years. She'd be talking, I'm like, like, leave me alone. And I wouldn't, and it could be really good shit that was gonna help my soul evolve. And I was just like, don't tell me what to do. And so it took like so much humility, and I got pummeled. Like, I got in my own way. So I want to say this, that I suffered greatly for not listening. I suffered beyond great. Like, when I look back now at the times that I do listen to her, and I do see what she's speaking out and what she's saying, and I understand, and I start to contemplate and sit with it and make it mean something to me, and then kind of go, oh shit, okay, how can I move forward now? And what are the next steps in how I'm going to release this, let go of this, work through this, purge through this?
And that's the same for me too, you know, like, because she's my greatest master. I'm so grateful that not only this is my twin, but this is somebody with a skill set and an ability and gifts to do this work. And this is our work with you guys all the time. This is our work with people all the time. And so the fact that we can do this with each other, and that we can listen to each other now, you know, most of the time, right?
We do.
We can put our shit aside. But wow, there has been times, you know, that Nicole looked at me. Even one time I remember, just only 2 years ago, I was so sick. And it was emotional stuff that was coming out, as all our physical illness really is a manifestation of that. And I just couldn't let it go. I wasn't ready to let it go, you know? And in hindsight, I do respect myself, because when we're not ready to let it go, when it's still serving us, like, it's not going anywhere. But she could see it so clearly, and she was just showing up with love over and over and over again. I was just stuck in it, right? And so it's so difficult sometimes to watch your partner, like, you see so clearly, you know. In the addiction, it's been hard too at times. When she was in her stuff, I would look and I could see so clearly where the breakdown was, so clearly where the gap was, where the pain was, where the trauma was. But it had to be in her time, it had to be in her experience, and there had to be this certain level of, like, I accept you where you are, I love you where you are, I am you where you are, you know, like, really able to be in that state. And magic happens when magic has happened in our lives when we've loved each other and accepted each other so wholly. In those moments, because then you get to see yourself not in the bullshit, like, program mind that you're looking at yourself with, not like, oh my god, like, I'm too this, I'm too that, I'm not enough this, I'm not enough that, but like, when you're able to be viewed in that way, and I'll start to view yourself in that way. And I tell people all the time, I said, even if you're not together, just start to see them in their power, see them in their grace. Do that with everybody. Give them the opportunity to, like, have the chance to see themselves like that for, like, a second, like a non-judgment, no expectation. You don't need to change. I still see how big and powerful and incredible you are. And so, you know, that was also something that was really profound, that we learned to do, that we just did by going into that love energy. Because that love energy, that's all creation, that's all God, that's all information, that's all that's real, that's all that exists. And the thing is when you go into that space, so much information comes and guides you. You start to figure out how to do this shit, because you start remembering who the fuck you are.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the most pivotal points in my process, was when Dov really was able to be there and not judge me when I was my worst as a heroin addict. Like at my bottom. Like, well, I had many bottoms. I don't even know if I'm capable of having a bottom. But what she did was she decided to honor me in that place without trying to change me, and loved me and accepted me and saw me. And what happened was I began to change dramatically in that, where I didn't want to be on the drugs anymore, because like I was able at that moment to slightly be able to receive. We get love no matter what we do. We have access to love, and the universe is giving us love. The only reason we don't feel loved and we feel alone is because we're like this. We're like, nope, I don't deserve it. Or nope, leave me alone. Like, I'm not doing that again. I'm not opening my heart. I'm not going to get my hopes up. I'm not going to. And what happened was I started to just open my heart enough where the love started to come in, and it started to mend. It started to do something where I started to see myself as this amazing being. Whether high or not, I'm still an amazing being. And in that moment, like very shortly after, was when we detoxed me at home, for 30 days. And because I decided that I was like, this is not working for me anymore. I don't tell anyone like drugs are bad, this is bad. It's an experience. If it's not working for you, then maybe you want to stop. And then people just don't know how to stop. We don't even know where to begin with that, right? There's so many books, there's so many programs, there's so many things, and it's hard. But what started it for me, like really started the process, and what I said at the beginning of this video, I said if I didn't have peace and happiness, that what was the point of stopping? Was when I started to find the peace there, because I wasn't identifying with what I was accumulating. I wasn't identifying myself with how much progress I had in my physical world and how many, cars I had, or how big my apartment was, or if my marriage looked okay. I just in that moment saw this beautiful being, and I saw it through her eyes, because I couldn't fucking see it, but I saw it through her eyes, and I really saw it. Because I saw something that she'd never done before. She'd never not just judged the situation. She never let go of the fear of maybe I would die, in which I did many times in front of her, right? Like she let go of everything for that moment. In that moment, I was able to feel God, because she was accessing unconditional God love. I felt it in this physical way, and I took that and I fucking ran with that. And that's when my mission started. Okay, so the work started when I was young. My whole life I've been working, right? I've done so many different things. I've read if you're like, I don't even know where to begin, you're doing it. Are you reading books? Are you watching videos? Have you hired a mentor at any point? Did you do a webinar? You're doing it, right? If you're actually focusing on your life and your relationship, or your life and your abundance, you're doing it. It may not look pretty to you right now. Doesn't mean that you're not doing the work. Because when we're doing the work, the 5D, it's done. And then it's got to trickle down in where things start to change in our physical realm, what we're perceiving and seeing in that. So all of it's work, right? And so give yourself a break and stop judging yourself. My life looked like shit for a very long time, over a decade. It looked bad, and I was working so hard. I really know I was giving it my all. Anything that I put my mind to, I was doing it above and beyond. I would open my heart up and let people guide me, and I would do all this work, and then I'd fall again, and I was just like, obviously I just don't know what I'm doing. But the thing is that growth is accumulative. The gutting of programming is accumulative. The growth of your mind and expansion and opening your whole thing, and the ego death is accumulative. Everything is accumulative, so all the work is adding to something. That's what's beautiful about growth. Is that it's never 3 steps forward and 5 steps back. It's always 3 steps forward and 2 steps back, or 1 step back. It's always forward.
I love that. We forget to see that it's always forward, even if you're going through that. And when Nicole was talking, aside from wanting to bawl my eyes out, because I just love her so much. Oh, I love her so much. I'm so glad that she's here. I know you guys are glad that she's here too. She's pretty special. If you don't know her, she's really special.
Thanks.
So she needs to be here, just like you guys do. So what I was thinking about is it's still work, right? It's still work, not just our relationship, but all of it. Because, for us too, we've chosen to show up, to shift the templates, to do the work so that we can do it for you, so that we can shift it through you, for you, so that we can understand it. And we have collected an array of experiences, of pains, of traumas, of understandings in order to be able to do the work that we do at the level that we wanted to do it. And we knew we wanted to do it before we were born. That's why we had these experiences. And so it's like, you know, when people ask us like, so when is it just no work and no, I mean, that's not our experience, not our experience of our lives, not our experience of our relationship. But the difference is that I use the word work, but it's like, oh, it's so much work to not do it. Like, I don't want to be in that, right? The pain of not looking at my shit and releasing it. And like, it is so beautiful that I can look at it now and see boom, 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 boom. And I trace it all the way back and I can move it out and I can with specificity remove it. And when I can't, I have the wherewithal to call somebody that can reflect that stuff back to me and move it the fuck out, because I don't want to deal with it in that way. And I don't want to stay in it, hold it, right? So we're going to feel pain, we're going to feel difficulty, we're going to feel loss, but it doesn't have to be suffering. We don't have to anchor ourselves in that, no matter what is going on. So is it blissful and fucking amazing and incredible sometimes? Yeah, life and our relationship. But we still give it attention and work, and we still have the difficulty, and the difficulty is mandatory in this template, in this world at the moment, because it keeps stepping us up and stepping us up and stepping us up.
Yeah, you know, in the 3 places where Dov and I have had the most growth and have been like these pillars of our process altogether has been, well, our personal growth, so what we did before we met each other and what we were doing for ourselves when we met each other, our relationship and our union, that all kinds of stuff, right? It activated all our gifts, but then on the other hand, it brought up all our shit, so we got to look at it, we get to clear through it. We had that, and then we went into mission. And when we got into mission, we realized we have to learn about being an entrepreneur, and we have to learn about this thing that is business. This thing that we are working in. We are working in a society where there is money, we get paid for services. We had to learn a lot of stuff, and we went to our knees with that too, because that was scary. But we wanted to create financial abundance. We wanted to create financial freedom so that we could serve freely, and that we could be here, and that we could do things that are more pro bono, that we could do things to show up and serve, because the mission part of all of this is like what breathes the life, because that's why we're here. We're here for mission.
For that self-expression.
Yeah, completely. So
I love that. I love that Nicole broke it into those categories. I feel like that's the deepest, truest form of that.
Yeah.
So
today we actually got called the most business-minded twin flames on the internet, and I loved it because I put so much energy into helping other healers. Like, we have this beautiful group right now helping other healers build their business,
to be heard,
and to be seen. Because it's not about sales, it's about being able to tell the world what you're doing. And I know that, like, so many people that I've watched, I'm like so grateful that they're there, because they have so much information that like literally lights my truth up, that lights my knowing up, that like ignites my remembering. Like sometimes we do with you guys. And so we have to show up, and we have to live, and we have to, you know, create abundance to live. And to feed my puppies, because they would be so upset without like their food.
It's amazing.
They're like trash cans. They eat mostly everything except for like seaweed and cereal.
Seaweed and cereal. That's the things they don't like.
Nope.
It is actually amazing to have really holistic abundance. And I think that, you know, being able to let go of our ideas in relationship to how we create just this beautiful ability to have peace and platform and impact, and the impact that we have means everything to us, right? The way that we can serve, and we work hard to do this. Like, we work hard in ourselves is what I mean. I have people ask us, they say, so how do we start? How do we start to serve? And we give them specifics. But I always say to start with yourself.
Yes.
Like, start with you. That's where we started for 2 decades. For so much time and so much work, and we will never stop. Every single day, whatever we recommend to our clients or to you or whatever, we live it, we walk it, we work it. It's not always easy. Sometimes we're on crying right before we have to do a live or whatever, because we're working through our shit, because we're not going to show up for you when we're not working our shit.
Or we're fighting. We'll get into an argument about the camera, the way it's in the lighting. We should have taken more time I'm like, we should have taken more time to set this up. I'm like, what the fuck? It's like, right. And then, you know, and then all of a sudden we take a deep breath, we look at each other, we smile, we're like, hi. Because you have to just, at every moment, it's like, you just gotta, we're human. We're in this human body, right? It's okay. It's okay that those things happen. We don't have to make a story about it anymore. We don't have to judge ourselves. We could just show up however, wherever, however we are. It's okay.
I love that. So I'm really excited that we got to be here with you guys
Yes.
today, and I'm really excited to share with you guys about our separation on this next Raw. So look out for that. The Raws will be on Fridays every other week. So unless we get, just massive time and downloads and we start putting them out more frequently. So 2 weeks from now on Friday, expect to see our Raw. We're so excited to talk about that. It's hard to talk about in the sense of there's so much there to try to fit in. But it's not hard to talk about in the terms of the pain, because we put so much time and so much energy and work into resolving so many of those things. And that's why we can talk about it with you.
Yep.
So when people ask us, how did you get through infidelity? How do you get through not talking? How do you get through separation and get through abandonment and all these things? We really put in a whole lot of time, a lot of faith, a lot of hard work. And so we're going to talk to you guys about that and what that looks like and how we gained those tools and skills. So if you guys are new to us, please make sure that you subscribe. If this video was helpful, if you like it, let us know. Share it with people if you want. Head over also to our Facebook, Twin Flame Revolution. We have a lot of lives every Sunday. We do our own version of sermon, and so you guys can come and be part of that energy if you want to. We're so excited and honored always to share with you guys our mission, our purpose, our connection. We love you.
Yeah, we love you so much. Bye.